Hello, ladies and germs. It is the Dark Conservatarian back with another Strike Force interview. I haven't done one of these in a while, or at least one-on-one interview anyways. It's been mostly just news streams, but now I'm finally back with the channel's favorite frenemy and sparring partner, CultofHam. Say hi, CultofHam.
It is I, CultofHam.
Yep, the CultofHam, the Edgelord Ham, the cult of the Forbidden Word has finally showed his face.
DarkyCon, I am both offended and aroused.
Oh god. No, please. I don't. No kinky shit. All right. But anyway, all right. Mindcap Kid is in the chat. He says, "Hi, hello there, Mindcap Kid." So anyway, this is a live stream where we're going to be going on at least 3 topics. One main one for the day, that being about guns and gun control versus gun rights, and just the general subject of guns. And we're gonna like delve into political spectrums, talking about what's right and what's left. It's gonna be a brief discussion, not gonna be as lengthy as Humane Minds stream that he was debating back and forth with CultofHam on, and maybe a little bit about liberalism and democracy. But anyway,
I could say one thing for sure about this stream: it's gonna be substantially less hostile than whenever I'm in the same room with Humane. If we were ever in the same room physically, one of us would be leaving in an ambulance after a while.
Oh, yeah. Have the footage uploaded on S-Man's channel. He'll just upload it as WWE Edgelord Ham versus Inhumane Mind.
Who would be the bad guy in the whole ring? Because I'm a massive asshole, but Humane's beliefs are psychotic.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know if I would say that. I mean, I'm just gonna say that's your opinion for right now, but I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, so on the subject of guns, the reason why I wanted to have this stream with CultofHam on it for a while, and I've been kind of holding off on this subject because a while back, around the time of the Parkland shooting, like CultofHam was bringing up assault rifles, calling AR-15s assault rifles, and in one of our private chats, he was going back and forth with Sir Conservatarian and JJ, aka the Crusader, for quite a while, like about a day or 2 or so, something like that, about how the AR-15s are not or are like Sir Conservatarian and JJ. They were saying that AR-15s are not assault rifles, and then CultofHam was trying to say that they are assault rifles, and finally they had a stream about it, and I decided not to join that stream because I did not want to outnumber Ham so much. Did not want to. I mean, already he was going to be debating against at least 2 people, that being Sir Conservatarian and JJ the Crusader. And in my personal opinion, that was like the best debate that JJ has ever had. But anyway, would you have cared that much if I had joined that stream as well?
I wouldn't have. I'm objectively correct on all the facts. You know, AR-15s are by definition an assault rifle.
Oh, yeah. Now, I would urge you to like put aside your arrogant objectivist attitude.
No, you're correct about.
You're right, you're wrong. Yeah, but we have a joke in this household. If you want to be both right and wrong at the same time, be Republican.
I saw that, like, that was your highlighted tweet for a while when I had first been introduced to you. But anyway, so I'm going. You don't have to like do the full presentation that you did in that stream.
Well, good, because I don't have it anymore.
But anyway, make your case for why you think AR-15s are assault rifles and what defines to you as an assault rifle.
Okay. Well, we have to go back in history of a time before assault rifles, when you had long, cumbersome bolt action, typically with 5-round capacities, firing a very powerful round for long-range engagement. You know, typically, 2,500 yards, even though it's very difficult to put a round on target with open iron sights. at 800 feet.
So wait, if I may interject with the question there, you would say that a good definition for what a rifle is for a long-range combat? A gun for long-range combat?
No, a rifle is basically any gun with rifling. The typical rifle you would think of would be a one for two-handed use on the shoulder. Forehand, pistol grip, and shoulder stock.
But there are also some guns that cannot really be shoulder mounted because they're so heavy, and you have to have them like ground mounted or tripod mounted or something or other.
Yeah, some of the earliest machine guns were basically treated as artillery.
Yeah, wasn't there like a gun in the 1800s, a Gatling gun of some sorts, where a person had to like crank a handle to shoot?
That's called a Gatling gun.
It was called a Gatling gun.
That was one of the three primary machine guns or proto machine guns back then. Another one is this multi-barrel derangement thing, where it's basically a gigantic sliding breech gun with a dozen barrels on it, and it all loads and fires it all loads about the same time, but the firing pins all fire one after another, so it's not all at once. It is a pseudo machine gun. The other one was the earliest Maxim machine gun prototypes, back when they were still mucking around with black powder. And it's amazing how Maxim was able to get a recoil operated machine gun to work with black powder, because as you know, black powder fouling is just fucking horrendous. But yeah, so when we talk about assault rifles, an assault rifle is basically any box-fed infantry rifle with a high rate of fire, typically select fire. The first widely accepted assault rifle is the STG-44, or the Sturmgewehr, storm rifle, basically. And it is a true and genuine assault rifle. It has a similar firepower of their typical submachine gun, the MP40 or the MP whatever the later one was. Their 9mm submachine gun, and it had not quite as much power and range as their Kar 98K, their standard long rifle, well, standard short rifle. But by basically combining similar power and range as their short rifle and the firepower, you get an assault rifle and you get an exponential increase in combat effectiveness. I mean, you can reach out and touch someone at 300 yards easy. And if you get ambushed by a bunch of enemy soldiers, well, all you gotta do is hit the panic switch and do a sweep.
All right, so you would say that a semi-automatic rifle could even be defined as an assault rifle?
I mean, there's an argument that the 1876 Winchester rifle in 40-60 could be considered an assault rifle, because you'd have comparable power and range as the 45-70 Springfield trapdoors. But you'd also have the same firepower as the 1873 Winchester. I mean, if the U.S. Army ever adopted, that system, that'd be the first, assault rifle in concept. By the way, this is not my idea. This is a concept that's been I don't know who originated, but I heard it from Carl from In Range TV. That's an excellent gun channel, along with Forgotten Weapons.
All right, and I also have to put out this disclaimer, by the way, everybody, that that CultofHam, he is a gun control advocate, but he is not a full-on gun grabber. He's not for outright banning guns. In fact, he said it himself on multiple occasions that he wants to decriminalize the production and sale of full automatic rifles, like it was made practically hard to do in 1986. But
well,
he wants,
it's impossible
regulations for it to be harder to actually purchase and get. Is that right, CultofHam?
It's actually impossible to create any licensed transferable machine guns anymore because it's limited to about 600,000 machine guns.
But am I translating your belief correct that you want to decriminalize the sale and production of new full automatic rifles?
I'd be fine with that. I'm not for I am not for banning any kind of gun at all. Totally, I do prefer a more strict licensing procedure, or at least a strict licensing, so that we at least get these dangerous class of firearms out of the hands of criminals and mass shooters. And by dangerous class of firearms, I mean assault rifles, pistols, high capacity pistols, and high capacity pump or semi-auto shotguns. And what I mean by high capacity is more than 3 or 4 rounds for a shotgun, and a double stack or drum fed magazine for pistols and rifles. I mean, with an AR-15, you can cut its capacity in half to 15 rounds just by changing it to a single stack magazine. Same thing with the typical Glock handgun. Typical Glock has anywhere from 15 to 18 round capacity. You can cut that right in half just by having a single stack magazine.
Yeah, I've never tested the true full capacity of my own personal Glock 19.
I mean, the true capacity is pretty much anything you want, as long as you get a magazine that's long enough.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the typical magazine that is used. I mean, the magazine that I have for mine right now. But anyway, so I always wanted to mention, I don't think people have as much of a problem. I mean, people still do have somewhat of a problem, but people do not have as much of a problem with the procedures of getting a gun. I mean, I think the biggest issue that people have, particularly gun rights advocates have against gun control advocates, is the outright banning of some certain guns, including AR-15s. And so you would hear these big-time figureheads like Jimmy Fallon, for example, talking about why don't we ban assault rifles, saying that to Donald Trump. And then a person like War Corpse, for example, says we already have, referring to 1986, which it wasn't an outright ban, but, nuance aside, you get my drift there. And the reason why people don't, I guess the big reason as to why gun rights advocates make an issue out of getting the terminology correct on whether an AR-15 is or is not an assault rifle is if it is technically an assault rifle, then that means it would be illegal for a person to be possessing it right now, to be possessing one of those right now, referring back to the 1986 because of the 1986 bill.
Well,
they try to defend their own ownership by saying, no, it's not an assault rifle, therefore it doesn't fall under the 1986 bill.
Well, here's the thing. If I remember correctly, the 1986 law bans full auto fire guns. And it doesn't matter if a gun falls under a description of an assault rifle or not. If it's full auto, it's banned.
All right. Well, that's the thing.
And by the way, I am against the idea of banning machine guns because machine guns are cool,
All
but they are
So,
the choice of gun that would be used by criminals and gangsters
all
and
right.
mass
So
shooters.
slowing down the conversation a little bit, what you said earlier is that what the 1986 bill technically says is that full auto guns are not allowed to be sold or manufactured. It does not use the term assault rifles to say what they are banning the sale and manufacture of, right?
Well, assault rifle can't matter because there are guns that are indeed full auto, but are certainly not uh, assault rifles. Like the Mac 10. My dad used to own a Mac 10. It's a full auto gun. You put a clip in it, and it'll dump a magazine in half a second.
And it's not defined as an assault rifle.
It can't be. It's a machine pistol. That's what it is.
Okay, I guess that would be why a person doesn't define it as an assault rifle, is because it doesn't resemble anything of a typical rifle.
I mean, for one thing, it fires a pistol cartridge. The defining, the most defining characteristic of a assault rifle is that it fires an intermediate cartridge.
On this matter, I want to go back on to what we were something that you had mentioned in that stream with Crusader and Sir Conservatarian, is that you mentioned the definition that I gave. Now, granted, I'm not an expert on guns, but what I just generally hear is that people saying that AR-15s, particularly semi-auto variants, are not assault rifles. And why that is because they are not fully automatic. And the reason why I came up with my own layman's average Joe definition of it is because to try and include that if a gun has full auto capability, then it would be defined as an assault rifle. But if it doesn't have full auto capability, then it doesn't fall under an assault rifle in my term.
Well,
but then you go mentioning this machine pistol. And you say that it's not an assault rifle despite it being full auto. Well, I would define it as an assault rifle either because it's just not a rifle.
Well, here's the thing. Give me your definition of what you believe an assault rifle to be.
I cannot remember what exactly it was that I said at the moment there.
Because I remember you sent it to me a while ago, and your definition would basically include any and every, firearm that's capable of full auto fire, like the MG08.
Well, you also have to keep in mind the rifle part of the term of assault rifle. I mean, there was another.
I mean, if the gun has rifling, it's a rifle.
I never understood. Okay, would you say that a pistol has rifling?
It does have rifling, but it's intended for a one-handed operation. You can take a pistol, lengthen the barrel, put a shoulder stock on it, and that makes it a rifle.
Okay, the layman's definition that I had given was a rifle with full auto capability without need of any mods like bump stocks and trigger enhancements. Okay, the reason why I annotated the without need of any mods like bump stocks and trigger enhancements because there was like this HuffPo article that was basically admitting that was more or less admitting that yes, an AR-15 is not an assault rifle, but at the same time they were saying stop insisting that it is not an assault rifle because it is. You know why? Because it can be modified to be an assault rifle. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, that doesn't make the gun itself as manufactured an assault rifle just because a person can modify it to operate like one.
Well, here's another problem with that definition. You can take a modification of the MG08 machine gun, the MG08-15. I mean, it's by your definition, it is an assault rifle, despite it being a 50-pound monstrosity. But with the maneuverability of a fucking brick. I mean, it's technically shoulder fired. It's got a pistol grip. It's I mean, the whole point of this gun is that it's full auto capable. I mean, there's no platform on the planet that's more capable of sustained full auto fire than the, Maxim machine guns. The MG08 and the Vickers.
Okay. Sorry, I was getting distracted a little bit with the chat.
The way you define an assault rifle is, both, what it does and what it's supposed to do. Like there's a very limited class of firearms that includes only 3 rifles. Well,
I mean, I guess what is also a contributing factor to the confusion of the terminology is what do we define a rifle? Not an assault rifle, just a rifle alone. Like you wouldn't confuse a pistol to be a rifle of sorts, would you?
Let me get the definition. I mean, it's okay. A rifle, a gun, especially one fired from shoulder level, having a long, spirally grooved barrel intended to make a bullet spin and thereby have greater accuracy over a long distance. Now,
pistols don't have very long barrels.
Well, they can. They can have long barrels, but that's not the most important characteristic of a rifle. The characteristic of a rifle is the rifling. But a rifle is primarily fired from the shoulder.
Right.
Yeah. I was about to mention this class of firearms. It's called the automatic rifle. There's only 3 rifles in existence that could qualify as an automatic rifle. It's the Shosha machine gun, the BAR, and a very recent gun called the IAR something or other. Infantry assault rifle, something else.
I'm trying to find M4. Okay.
The IAR gun that I'm talking about it's the M27 IAR. That's what it is.
Doesn't an M4 or an M16 have full auto capability?
The very first AR-15 had full auto capability, but let me explain to you what an automatic rifle is and how it's intended to use can differentiate it from being just another light machine gun. What an automatic rifle is a full auto rifle box magazine that's intended for walking fire. That's intended to use the walking fire tactic, where as soon as you jump over your trenches and you storm the other guy's trenches and you give walking fire, so you keep the other guy's head down, so they don't shoot you. That turned out to be a terrible tactic, but due to recent advances in technology and accuracy and optics, it is starting to make a comeback in the form of the M27 IAR.
All right,
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm trying to speed read these articles that I've read before. Another thing that I want to mention about the pass is that I provided you 2 articles talking about definition of AR-15. Well, actually, not as much about the definition itself of AR-15 or of an assault rifle, but of how an AR-15 is classified and that it is not classified as.
If it's based off the original Colt AR-15 plans, it is an AR-15. That's why the HK-416 is not an AR-15 because it uses an entirely different operating mechanism.
And so I'm trying to grasp as to what you're saying here. So is what you're saying that because some variants of AR-15 are full auto, therefore all the variants, including the semi-automatic variants, are all assault rifles?
No. It's because the original AR-15 was intended to perform the role of an assault rifle, and the the original AR-15, is a select fire rifle that fires an intermediate cartridge from a box magazine, and it is intended to replace the more powerful battle rifles and the less powerful submachine guns. The AR-15 basically replaced the M14 and the M1 Garand and the M3 Grease gun and the M1 Thompson.
M1 Thompson, I mean, if I was to like at first glance take a look at it, I would think that was an assault rifle because of its full auto capability. Just a side note there.
Well,
also,
it can't be an assault rifle because it fires a pistol cartridge.
Fires a pistol cartridge. I mean, I thought the cartridge was a lot longer than, or what do you mean by pistol cartridge? Are you talking about because the rounds are short?
It's designed to fire from a pistol, 45 ACP, 9mm Parabellum, 9mm Tokarev. I mean, there's hundreds of different pistol cartridges that are out there, and that also go into submachine guns, which is a automatic rifle that fires a pistol cartridge.
Something else I want to bring up about something you said in the past during that stream. You was talking about, okay, actually I was trying to get to this point, but then got off on kind of a tangent. You said you was talking about the layman's definition that I gave of what I thought to be an assault rifle, and then you brought up an example of some machine gun, some like fairly short machine gun that was on a tripod. And you said that if my definition was correct, then technically that gun, I can't even remember what the name of it was, what you were showing.
The MG0815 or the MG08 or was it the Vickers? I mean, it's all basically the same damn gun. It's a big, heavy, water-cooled monstrosity of a gun. That's designed to...
I would not confuse that an assault rifle because it doesn't... it does not resemble anything that I would think to be a rifle.
Well, the MG08 is designed to fire from the shoulder.
From the shoulder.
I mean, there's other guns like the M60 machine gun. By your definition, it's an assault rifle, but it's not an assault rifle. It's a light machine gun because it
M60 is that the 50 caliber, by the way?
No, that's the M2. The M60.
Okay, my bad.
The M60 is the light machine gun we associate with the Vietnam War.
Okay. So anyway.
If you want me to get a picture.
Yeah, you can go ahead. There was something else also, like about the articles that I had showed you, that I had referenced as to why. Also, there are like dozens of other articles I found that were talking about how an AR-15 is not an assault rifle, and okay, so use the way that I'm understanding your argument.
By the way, this is an M60 right here.
Okay,
and it is fired from the shoulder, as you can see here. How does that not fit your definition of assault rifle?
I mean, I guess I would have to like find a good, solid definition of an assault rifle. But
I mean, I gave you one. It's a, it's a, select fire infantry rifle that fires an intermediate cartridge from a box magazine. That's what
I would think included in there for some to be defined as an assault rifle. It would have to be also full auto. But anyway, as I was trying to mention, I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't have a good old solid definition. But what I always understood to be an assault rifle is that okay, people go talking about AR-15s as assault rifles, right? All the time in the gun debate. And then gun rights advocates would be pointing out AR-15 is not an assault rifle. and an assault rifle is a full automatic gun. And so I brought up these. Okay, sorry, losing my train of thought. But
yeah,
anyway,
I love
what
it
I'm
when
understanding, what I'm understanding, your definition is that because AR-15s are like a family of guns, where some of them are assault. Okay, I don't know. What was you saying?
it's not really. It's a very specific type of firearm with a very specific type of role. I mean, it replaces the old style battle rifle, you know, to sacrifice, you know, the ability to do long range engagement.
I need to sell these.
Oh my god!
These are $4 a piece.
To do, you know, to have increased firepower in short range in shorter ranges, you know, under 300 yards.
All right. I mean, I still might be slightly misunderstanding your argument as to how the AR-15 is an assault rifle, but you go mentioning about how an AR-15 is basically a family, is a title for the family of a bunch of rifles. Like AR-15s, M4s, and M16s are all under the same family, and thus they're all assault rifles. And
well, I showed this during this. I showed this during the presentation of my definition of assault rifles. I basically
this article. You showed this article. Or was you
no. Hey, shut up. I pointed out the there's two types of Mosin Nagants, or there's two variants of the Mosin Nagants. There's like this. There's a standard rifle, you know, the 3-line rifle of 1891, and there's another one with a long ass fucking name. Literally, okay. The only difference between these two rifles is a stamp on the barrel. That's it. But they're considered two completely different rifles. They're both still Mosin Nagants.
Okay, and as I was trying to say, as I was sharing this article in the chat, you said the article like proves your point. But the thing is, later on, down in later parts of this paragraph, it says, so let's stop referring to an AR-15 an assault rifle. It is not an assault rifle.
Yeah, if you say an AR-15 is not an assault rifle, then you're saying that, you know, the M16 and the M4 carbine are not assault rifles.
But I would say that they are assault rifles because of their full auto capability. I mean, you and I seem to have been going back and forth on one-on-one DMs and on Twitter. You kept on asking me over and over again, is AR-15 assault rifle? I said no, and then you would ask, is an M4 an assault rifle? I would say yes, because of its full auto capability. Then you would just ask the two same questions over and over again. So, but from what I understand,
say that again.
Okay. So on Twitter, around the time of the debate that you had with JJ and Sir Conservatarian, you was mentioning, or you and I was going back and forth. You kept on asking me the question, is an AR-15 an assault rifle? I was saying no. Then you would ask, is an M4 an assault rifle? I would say yes, and we would just circle around on this question. It's like you're implying that you think that M4s and AR-15s are almost the same gun.
Well, they are the same gun. The M4 is just a cut down M16, and the M16 is just a military designation for the AR-15 platform that they adopted.
And there would be another article. Well, it's more of a PowerPoint presentation. Sorry, everybody, I'm not paying so much attention to the chat. Maybe I'll just take a pause or to read it here in a bit. But there's also this article that does not come in contradiction with this article that I showed earlier.
I mean, literally, the only difference between a civilian AR-15 and the military M4 M16 is full auto capability. And when you compare it to, you know, the battle rifles that the that the AR-15 replaced, they're just as much of an assault rifle as M4, M16. They have phenomenal firepower, leaps and bounds above even a M1 Garand. An M1 Garand is semi-automatic, but it's limited to 8-round capacity.
Okay, and as I was trying to say, this article differs M4s from AR-15s. This is an M4A1 carbine. It is a U.S. military service rifle. It is also an assault rifle. The M4A1 is fully automatic. This means it fires multiple rounds each time the trigger is pulled. The M4A1 can fire up to 950 rounds per minute. The M4A1 and other fully automatic firearms are also called machine guns. In 1986, the federal government banned the sale or transfer of new machine guns to civilians. And then there's this part here that goes to find AR-15. Like the majority of firearms sold in the United States, the AR-15 is semi-automatic. This means it fires 1 round each time the trigger is pulled. So there's the differentiation that it is given between an AR-15 and an M4. Like M4, you can hold down the trigger and it'll just keep on firing off rounds. Whereas with the AR-15, you pull it and hold it down, it'll just fire off 1 round. You need to retract the trigger again in order to fire another round. Then you pull it again, fires another round. Semi-automatic and full automatic. There's that differentiation. If I can speak English, please.
Yeah, the only difference between the M4 and the AR-15, or the civilian AR-15, is
they
the
are
M4.
different.
They're the same type of rifle. They're just a different variant of the same type of rifle.
But they are different rifles, though, ultimately.
That's like saying, the Kar 98K and the Gewehr 98 are two different, completely different rifles, even though they're the same action, by the same guy.
I honestly don't know of those types of guns. I mean, maybe I ought to watch an actual gun television series.
This is why I find it kind of frustrating when I'm talking to pro gun people. Is I quickly find out that they know far less than I do about guns, even though I'm a quote unquote gun taking liberal. He's gotta take your fucking guns.
Well, that's why I try to quote the experts, the people who write up these research papers and so on and so forth.
I mean, these aren't research papers; they're internet articles. They totally ignore the history behind what an assault rifle is and was.
Well, at least I'm not quoting Breitbart or Fox News.
Ugh. The assault rifle, the original assault rifle, the Sturmgewehr, was designed to combine, the firepower of the submachine gun and, the power and range of a standard short rifle. Combine the two, and you get a gun that's not quite as good as either, and what each other excels at, but it itself is able to do far more than what the other two were able to do in terms of engaging in combat. A civilian AR-15 has proven itself to be exceptionally deadly in a combat scenario. If you're in Iraq right now and you're handed a very good AR-15 semi-automatic, but it was given good mods and good stocks and whatever, you'd have a very good rifle. You have an exceptionally good rifle. Not quite as versatile as the M4s or M16s, but compared against the AK-47, I would rather have a semi-automatic, AR-15 than a full auto AK.
I don't know if there's anybody who's denying that AR-15 is a good gun. I mean, that's why they defend the use and ownership of them.
I mean, the AR-15 is such a good gun. That's why it's so damn deadly. That's why we absolutely need to restrict it to some extent. along with double stack magazine pistols and shotguns with capacity higher than 3 or 4.
Perhaps with a full magazine, but what do you think about an individual round shot out of an AR-15? Like, I always hear it referred to as a varmint round, like it's not that powerful, the single round by itself.
It'll still put a man down.
All right. I mean, I'm not denying that it is most likely more powerful than with a 22, because I hear stories about how people sometimes get shot in the head with a 22, and they can like survive the shot from that because it's such a small round.
You can have a 1-inch thick iron pole shot through your head, and you can still survive that. Humans are amazingly capable of surviving incredible things.
Right, but I hear the 22 typically referred as a particularly weak round.
Oh, wait, what?
I particularly hear of a 22 millimeter being referred to as a particularly weak round.
No, not the 5.56. 5.56, is deadly up to 300 yards.
5.56.
Yeah.
What?
It's very dead.
Confused. Did you just go transferring to like a different round, talking about a different round?
I'm talking about 5.56 NATO, the standard cartridge that fires out of an AR-15. That's what that's what the military shoots.
I was just talking about the 22, and then you go talking about the 5.56. Anyway, I kind of want to like address the chat here a little bit. I've been kind of belligerent on that. Mindcap Kid says up top here, anti-border libertarians are the only true libertarians. Well, if you want to like define what are true libertarians, then it would be full-on anarchists. But that's aside the point. And Incredible Aspie says, I wondered what he looked like. Blue Republic, wait. More than 3 or 4 rounds for a shotgun? I'm catching up on the stream at 2 times speed, but that's crazy. Aspie says, most firearm crimes in the United States are committed with handguns, which, by the way, we'll get into the discussion on the statistics here in a little bit, but I just want to finish with the chat. Blue Republic, actually, interesting point here at DarkCon. The Supreme Court has had trouble differentiating between semi-automatic pistols and rifles in the terms of their effects and the legal precedent it sets. I don't know. The Supreme Court I would not refer to as the utmost experts on guns, really. Blue Republic also says those are not the only 3 rifles. The AR-18 is fully automatic, and you can walk while using it. There are dozens of fully automatic rifles. What would you have to say?
Is an AR-18 designed for the walking fire tactic? No.
He just said it. You can walk while using it.
It doesn't fucking matter. If it's not designed for the walking fire tactic in mind, it's not an automatic rifle.
Well, it can ultimately be used for the walking fire tactic. I mean, by what Blue Republic at least is saying you can walk while using it.
Well, you can, but do militaries do it? No. Just because you can doesn't mean it is. There's tons of rifles that can qualify as the walking fire automatic rifle. A fucking M1 Garand can fill that role, but it's not. It doesn't.
Okay.
The walking fire tactic is, a trench breakthrough tactic. It's designed to get across no man's land and keep the enemy's heads down so they don't shoot your ass down.
Blue Republic continues. AR-15s aren't necessarily select fire. I think if last I checked, AR-15s at least have a burst fire capability as well, where it'll pull off 3 rounds in one trigger pull if you select it to there.
It's becoming very clear to me that a lot of you guys have no idea what an AR-15 is. Okay, when I'm talking about AR-15s, there's the original AR-15 by Armalite that they submitted during the 60s and 70s as a replacement for the M14, and there's the the Colt AR-15 pattern guns, and any rifle that follows the Colt AR-15 pattern is an AR-15, whether or not it has select or full auto capability. Whether or not it has full auto capability.
But then I'll be repeating myself if I said this, but then people go differentiating the capabilities between an AR-15 and an M4.
The M4 is just, well, it is an AR-15 itself. It's just the M4. The term M4 is just its military designation.
It might fall under the same family of rifle, AR-15, but from what I typically hear it referred to as, it's not technically an AR-15, or at least it's not the civilian variant that people go referring to as they're defending the AR-15. The use and for it to stay legalized, AR-15s are not select fire. Ham Blue Republic is almost raging in the chat right there. He also says
that's objectively false, because the M16 and M4 are select fire. The original Armalite 15 was select fire. It had to be.
I would say that it's not objectively true because of the differentiation between an M16 and a AR-15, particularly a civilian variant. Blue Republic at the Dark Conservatory, and AR-15 are semi-automatic. By Ham's own definition of them being select fire, they are not assault rifles. Okay, maybe you and Blue Republic ought to have your own stream / debate on guns.
I mean, what's it really going to do? I mean, it's just going to be me repeating the same facts that, here's what an AR-15 is. Here's that history behind the assault rifle.
I don't know. Maybe Blue Republic would have a little bit of a different approach to it and have a little bit more facts at his aid than me. And besides that, why did you join this stream then?
I don't know. I'm bored.
Well, I'm glad that I amuse you at least that much.
We are eventually going to move off to other topics, I hope.
Right. Yeah, I intend to. Blue Republic also says M4s are select fire with fully automatic functions. They are not the same as AR-15s. Ham defined assault rifle earlier as select fire LMAO, but AR-15s are not. Hello there, Mega Wolf, aka Godric. The AR-18, it's not a light machine. This is Blue Republic again. The AR-18, it's not a light machine gun, but you can walk and fire on the shoulder, fully automatic. It is a fully automatic rifle.
The AR-18 is just the AR-15, but gas piston instead of direct impingement.
Godric says he likes your headphones.
Well, yeah, they're the Aerotech M50X. They sound really nice. I read up here where he's talking about shotguns and 3 or 4 rounds. The reason why I mentioned 3 or 4 rounds for a shotgun is if you don't have assault rifles, if you don't have high capacity pistols, a shotgun is going to be your third best option to commit a mass murder. Okay. Because at that point you're really limited on the amount of number of rounds you can carry, so you might as well make each round count. And what firearm makes each round count more than a shotgun? I mean, when you fire a double-aught buck shotgun and 12 gauge, you're basically firing 9.32 auto all at the same time in one direction. That's immensely powerful. And if you're far away from enough, you can hit multiple people. Or if you get slugs, you could go through people.
All right. I mean, a shotgun, when you fire off one of those rounds, it's gonna it's gonna definitely count if you just aim it relatively in the same direction. I mean, unless you like completely pointing different direction.
Well,
your target.
a shotgun, like any rifle, you still have to aim it. You don't have to be as precise with it, but you still have to aim it.
Right. I mean, that's
Excuse me.
Anyway. All right. So CultofHam is a little bit busy there. I guess I'll address the rest of the chat. Godric says, "Stupid slim keyboard I have did not put I twice." Okay. Arcade 2K Dragon says, "I'm not here." Wait. What did I miss? Well, you missed like a good portion of this gun discussion I'm having with CultofHam. So I would suggest rewatching it. RK. Okay. Lonely Wolf says in the chat, "Guns, titties, and weed are the holy trinity of American culture." Well, weed, not so much. Not yet, at least, Wolf. Just saying. But yes, titties. Bacon. You're forgetting the bacon, Wolf. RK says, okay. I want to save some of these chat messages for when Ham gets back because I want him to get the chance to address them. Blue Republic says, "Ham, every AR-15R series models are semi-automatic." Okay. Well, that's like a little factoid that I haven't known myself. Maybe, hopefully, we could have you two streaming with each other and duking it out. I don't know. I think CultofHam might be getting kind of tired on this subject. Hopefully, he'll get back soon. Actually, I might just.
All right, I'm black.
Yeah, you're black. Well, then I'm a woman.
Well, hello, Miss Darky Khan.
Okay, so there's a few chat messages that I wanted to save for you to address.
Oh my god, but Blue Republic said something in the chat that's real fucking stupid. If Ham is worried about mass shootings, the Virginia Tech was carried out with a Glock and Walther, 2 pistols, 32 killed. Yeah, that's why I specifically mentioned high capacity pistols.
What? I don't even. I don't know.
He made this dumb fucking comment message in the chat.
No, yeah, I got you. If Ham is, I read it right here before me, but I would have to hear him. Oh, y'all, the Blue Republic picking fights. Y'all, Blue Republic is getting short fused. Blue Republic, I would urge you to calm down. That means all pistols are high capacity, dipshit. Literally, that's standard clip size, dumbass.
Here's how you reduce the capacity of all pistols. Remove the double stack option. There you go. I'll be happy with that.
You want to? Is that a mod that you would like to ban? Is double stack mod?
That's not a mod. That's a design feature. The reason why 9mm is a hell of a lot more popular than 45 ACP or 40 S&W is because you can pack more rounds into a palm size grip than you can with the fuck was I saying? You could fit a lot more 9mm in the palm of your hand than you can 45 or 10mm.
Okay.
This where you can get 7 or 8 rounds of 45, you can get like 15 or 18 rounds with 9mm. You can get like 32 rounds if you get extended magazine. I mean, you basically have a pair of submachine guns in your hands if you go on a killing spree.
By the way, shout out to RK as he messaged me on Discord that he would like to join. RK, this is like explicitly a live stream between me and CultofHam. I don't want to turn this into a complete and utter jungle of a debate. I kind of also want to wrap up the whole gun topic here in a bit, but anyway, RK asks a question in the chat. You can put select fire on it. Also, an AR-15 can also be modified more than an M4 and M16. And what mods would you ban? Would you like to address that?
Well, once again, the AR-15 platform was designed to be extremely modular. So the M4 and M16 are just as modular as the AR-15, the civilian variants, at least. Mods. Let's see the mods that give AR-15 similar firepower as if it was automatic.
There's a civilian variant of an M16, you say?
The AR-15. Okay. When I say AR-15, I specifically mention civilian AR-15 to differentiate those AR-15s from the military AR-15s, which are the M16s and M4s. M4s and M16s are just as modular as civilian AR-15s.
Well, I thought you said civilian variant of M16 specifically.
I meant AR-15.
Okay.
All these terms, and you eventually start tripping over them.
I see. Blue Republic says, "I'll shut up. Y'all carry on." Would you ever like to debate Blue Republic on this, or are you just tired of it, Ham?
I'm honestly getting tired of this subject because it's a dead horse that's been dead.
Well, I don't know if there's anything like fully convincing. Okay. So the definition itself of an assault rifle. I mean, apparently it's a whole lot more jaded than originally I thought. I'll give that, but I'm still not convinced as to how the AR-15 itself, particularly civilian variants, are still assault rifles. Because,
you have to keep this in mind. They don't design guns to fit into certain categories. They create certain categories to describe the guns that already exist. There are some guns that just completely defy categorization, like the MG0815, or there's a certain variant of the M1 1919 Browning machine gun, that has a shoulder stock on it and a handle, and is it a light machine gun or is it a medium machine gun? No one really knows, because it's too heavy for a light machine gun, and it fires from a belt. And it doesn't have anywhere near the sustained rate of fire capability or the stability of a medium machine gun. So some guns don't really fit definitions exactly.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll move on from there. I mean, we're going to have to just agree to disagree, because I'm not fully convinced on AR-15s themselves. But anyway.
I mean, there are arguments that even a manually operated tube-fed rifle, such as the 1876 Winchester in 4060, could be considered an assault rifle if it was ever adopted by a military. Because once again, it has the similar firepower of that of a 1873 Winchester, but it fires a similarly powerful cartridge as the 4570.
So would you think that whether something is used by the military helps to define a certain gun as an assault rifle?
Yeah. I mean, that's the entire reason why the AR-15 existed, is for military adoption.
All right. So that was kind of my catch up. I mean, we could be talking about gun statistics, but it's already 7:11 right now. I don't want to be too much longer on here. But moving on to like a different subject that has been mentioned up in the past recently, and especially was mentioned in the one live stream where you and Humane Mind were actually for once decent with each other. And that was talking about what is defined as right versus left. No, I'm not talking about the Sunday discussion that S-Man hosted. I'm talking about the one before that when we were talking explicitly about economics. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
You mean the a fucking monkey?
No, not that one. That was the Sunday discussion.
Yeah.
But that was that was actually funny. You're just saying a monkey repeatedly.
I mean, whoa. I mean, what kind of response is warranted for a claim like what Humane was making?
I don't know. What I thought was particularly ridiculous because it's an app. I guess I kind of get the analogy that Humane was trying to get, but it seems to be a big apples to oranges comparison, but not even apples to oranges, more like apples to watermelons comparison between.
Well, there's still fruit. It's like
between what is left and right and what is gay or what is heterosexual and homosexual.
I mean, it's not even an apples and oranges comparison. It's like an apples to frying pan. You know, when you're talking about poll data, you can only be as accurate as the data you get, and that's why they have a margin of error. And every one of these polls.
Whoa. I mean, that's kind of not the subject I wanted to go off of. Was the poll data? I mean, I'm talking about like spectrums here, but.
Oh, the left versus right. Yeah.
Right. And one thing that was, as I was trying to say, because addressing Humane Mind's point, if anything, at least, I mean, I kind of get his analogy because just blowing one guy is not the most. I mean, it's not a heterosexual position, obviously, but it is not the most homosexual thing that a guy could be doing. I mean, the most homosexual thing that a guy could be doing is having a whole fucking orgy with a whole bunch of dudes that speak fairy and are wearing rainbow colors.
I mean, what defines you as homosexual is whether or not you have an attraction towards men. If you have an attraction towards men instead of women, you're a homosexual.
But is it more gay to be hanging out with multiple dudes in a sex event than just one dude? I mean, sexual intercourse, having sexual intercourse with multiple dudes than just one dude.
I mean, it still makes you gay. I mean, this is. Anyway. Well, what's more straight? Eating out the cunt of one woman or eating out the cunt of a whole bunch of women?
Technically, I don't know. Maybe a person could make the point that technically it's when you have 72 virgins. But anyway, getting off of stupid topics right there. Lonely Wolf said, Lonely Wolf says in the chat, let me address this. You can blow a guy if you say no homo afterwards. It's not gay. If you don't do that, it could be homo. No.
I honestly don't give a shit about what's homo or not. It's like childish talk. Let's talk politics. What the hell? Anyway, what do you want to talk about left and right spectrum?
Anyway, so you go mentioning, actually, it was not just you, but even Owen McDonald. I heard at least one occasion from Owen and multiple occasions from you talking about how Obama is a right-winger, and that kind of raises a red flag in my head because I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was pretty right-wing. Actually, no, I'll agree with you that if we're going by the typical dichotomy of right equals war or militarization more, and then left is like less militarization and more peace, then that would make Obama a right-winger. But on the economic side of things, like, the guy wasn't very much of an economic libertarian. So anyway, make your case as to why you think that he is a right winger. I mean, aside from foreign policy.
Well, his economic policies mainly benefited Wall Street, the whole Wall Street bank bailout. Yeah, we can't allow these companies to fall because that'll be really bad for the economy. But all he ended up doing was just giving bankers a huge fucking check. I mean, I remember specifically a scandal where some of these bankers just wrote themselves $1 billion in $1 billion bonuses. If he really wanted to boost the economy, he would have given the money to the average American, so they can spend and consume and get this country kick-started again. Because if you give rich people a whole lot of money, are they going to spend it all? No, they're gonna keep it. They're gonna house it. They're gonna ship it off overseas so that they can avoid taxation.
Okay, I'm trying to search this up. I mean, of how much of welfare spending has increased. Okay, so you say that the main reason why you think that he is right wing on economics is because of plutocracy, basically.
That's corporatism.
Yeah, I mean, plutocracy would be corporatism, but I think we keep on throwing around this term of crony capitalism, and I think that we need to stop using that term because it gives too much to socialists when we use the term crony capitalism, because it's more of a fake capitalism.
I've never used crony capitalism and never used that term. I've always used corporatism.
I don't know. Maybe I would have to dig through a whole bunch of streams to find out that for sure. But
no, I have literally never used the term crony capitalism. I'm fairly certain on it.
For some reason, I thought I recall you at least once or twice doing it. But anyways, plutocracy is the more university way of defining corporatism, and corporatism is like more of the average Joe layman's definition of plutocracy. But anyway, so you say that is the reason why Obama is right wing on economics.
That's one of the reasons. Another reason is when he implemented Obamacare. If he was strong, if he really believed in a universal health care, Medicare for all system, we would have a Bernie Sanders style healthcare system, Medicare for all. But no, he started off with the compromise of a public option, and he further compromised by going to the individual mandate, or more properly known as the compulsory system, where it forces you to participate in the healthcare market.
Okay.
And as I've demonstrated before, the individual mandate is a right-wing alternative to the left-wing solution.
So would you say forcing a person to go shopping at a grocery store would be a right-wing proposal?
It's certainly not left.
Okay. I would argue. Okay.
I mean, it's
corporatist / plutocracy. Proposals like Obamacare and bank bailouts and so on and so forth. I mean, if we're looking at the economic scale as purely linear, that would not be right wing, much less far right wing.
I mean, it's still using the capitalist system. in our healthcare system.
Okay, so it would not be far left. I don't think
I-
anybody was arguing that it is far left, even during that Sunday discussion stream that you had with Humane Mind.
Yeah.
No,
You know,
nobody was and nobody is calling it far left. But our main quarrel is you calling it like right wing. Okay, would you at least agree with me to say that it is more center right than it is moderate, much less far right?
it's just right wing. You know the very center position I would consider would be a public option. So you can either opt into the government system, or you can opt into the to the capitalist system. I would consider that to be the center position,
Okay.
and the individual mandate. Oh, excuse me.
Well, you have to. Okay, you have to do something. You know what? I'm going to. I don't know. Okay. Seeing what's going on in the chat. Not much is going on in the chat. Arcade Dragon says, all I got to say is just be glad the XM25 will never be in civilian hands. Excuse me. Common Sense Guy then says, no, it wasn't. It was a hunting rifle. I do not know what gun he was referring to earlier there. I mean, we're getting kind of so lost in the weeds here among what Ham is talking about. RK says, well, I'm going to go. See y'all later. See you later, RK. Sorry that I did not say that soon enough. Common Sense Guy says, oh, McDonald sold his farm, E-I-E-I-O, for the means of production. Now he's evening milked. Okay. Being not evening. Okay. And Common Sense Guy also says, is there a spectrum on the left? If so, why is there not one on the right? What? I don't think anybody has been arguing against that. Like, there's a spectrum that includes both right wing and left wing right next to each other. Brocron0 says, hello, Ham. And I say hello to you, Brocron. Although I'm not Ham, obviously, but yeah. Although Ham still is here, Brocron. I'm almost tempted to take a latrine break myself if Ham doesn't get back soon enough. Maybe I'll try searching up this. Common Sense Guy also says level of what makes you left, what level you could be right. Okay. In the 2001-2002 recession, welfare costs increased by 3.1% of GDP in 2003 and then declined to 2.5% of GDP by 2007. But the Great Recession of 2009 through 10 produced an explosion in welfare costs to a peak of 4.75% of GDP in 2010. Welfare costs are estimated at 2.5% of GDP by 2015 and below 2% of GDP by 2020. Okay. Okay. So I wish I would like give raw numbers of percentage increase of welfare spending, because this paragraph right here is talking about welfare spending in comparison to GDP. Governments sharing the cost of the poor. All right. Local welfare spending has declined from 0.6% GDP in 2010 to an estimated 0.47% in 2015. That's local, but what about the federal government? Okay. In the 2010s, federal welfare spending declined off a peak of 3.31% GDP in 2010, including a 0.88% GDP transferred to states, to an estimated 2.0% GDP in 2015, including 0.62% GDP transferred to states and a projected 1.6% GDP by 2020. State welfare spending has declined 1.45% GDP in 2010 to an estimated 0.66% in 2015. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Red Feather says in the chat, "Hey everyone, hello. What's up, Red?" And Common Sense guys is hello to her as well. Trying to. Okay. Income security payments. If anybody heard that background noise right there, that was my sister arranging stuff. 6 minutes ago, Common Sense Guy tweeted out the link to the stream right here. Come watch this interesting debate with @TheDarkCon and @CultofHam. Well, thank you, Common Sense Guy. To everybody who is just tuning in right now, CultofHam, he went AFK right now. Is why nothing is really going down right now. Hopefully he gets back. Red Feather says, your sister moving bodies? No. No. No, she's moving in with me is what's happening. Okay, so there seems to have been at least a moderate increase in welfare spending, but then dipped down very slightly. At least going by the... Hello?
Oh, sorry about that. My landlord can't stop by for his visit.
Okay. What was he saying, that you're being too loud?
No, she was just doing, an inspection.
Okay. I could have sworn that she was going to tell you just stop using the forbidden word. I mean, we got all these other neighbors of yours that do not like you saying that.
Fuck what my neighbors think. And besides, our closest neighbor is like about 100 feet away from us. We live in a very sparse neighborhood.
All right, so trying to pick this up from where we left it off. We were talking... You mentioned welfare spending a little bit earlier. I do not know if this is exactly where you left off, but you would say that there was like a decrease in welfare spending?
Decrease?
Yeah, during Obama's administration. And did he advocate for that specifically?
I don't know about a decrease in welfare spending. I'm not read up on that issue.
Yeah, I'm trying to there's this article that I am looking at right now. I mean, it's kind of jaded. I would have to like read it at some later point, but it seems to be pointing out that there was not like a huge increase nor a huge decrease in welfare spending. Like it picked up. It's almost looking like going off by these charts, like it picked up in the first half of Obama's tenure, and then in the later half it dipped down just a slight bit. But
well, I mean, I guess you could call the recession partially responsible for that. You can criticize Obama, but he did get us out of the recession that George Bush got us into.
Ever so slowly and weakly. But
I mean,
anyways,
we're out.
Okay, so bank bailouts and banks and other business subsidies and Obamacare. Are there any other and I would not put those off as right-wing positions, but are there any other positions of Obama that you would say were right-wing, economically at least?
Can't think off the top of my head.
Okay.
I haven't really paid attention to Obama in a while. If I did some research, I can find you a whole laundry list. I mean, shit, you can look at Secular Talk's video, from 2 years ago and find all the shit that Obama done.
Yeah, and I'll point you out a video from Ben Shapiro in the meantime.
Oh, yeah, literally.
Literally, Guy, I hold as much credibility to Kyle Kalinske as you hold credibility to Ben Shapiro. So,
I mean, you can't quite find immediate contradictions in Kyle's philosophy like you can Ben Shapiro. Literally anything that Ben Shapiro says, you can find a way that he either contradicts himself or he's just outright fucking lying.
There is something about him. I don't know. I mean, it's a general talking point. I don't know much about it, but talking about of how he thinks the West should allow itself to be diverse, like not force diversity, but allow people of multiple different colors to immigrate if they want to and if they go through the legal processes. But then all writers point out, hey, but he's all like Jewish ethno-state in Israel or something like that. As far as Kyle Kalinske goes, though, I mean, on the one hand, he calls himself a free speech absolutist, but on the other hand, in public schools, these are not atheist schools. These are not Christian schools. They're not evolutionist or creationist schools or anyone. They are everyone's schools. And yet he says absolutely don't teach creationism. Like, I'm not.
How's that a free speech issue?
Because you're not allowing people to teach and speak about creationism in public classroom.
You can't
or
talk
at least
about
allow
creationism
as boards.
Creationism is objectively false.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm not trying to advocate for, or I'm not trying to argue for creationism, but it would only be a free speech absolutist position if you was to allow pretty much anything.
Here's the thing,
or at least allow the public school boards to rule what they want to teach.
No, you don't teach whatever you want to teach. You don't teach, a kid that if he runs across a highway, he won't get hit by a car. Creationism is explicitly Christian fundamentalism. It's Christian extremism.
I find that whole kid running across a road thing to be kind of a false equivalency, but
how it if I teach you, the absolute wrong thing. If I taught you that 2 + 2 = 10, and you try to go through life, you're gonna suffer.
2 plus something like that, as simple as that, is not going to catch on as easily. And as far as running across the street, that's more immediate, like the immediate present of what would happen to you if you was to do that action. But with the issue of creationism versus evolutionism, that is talking about the origins of what happened, the origins of existence. And
you don't even know what evolution is. Evolution is specifically and only about, it is explicitly and only about the explanation of biodiversity through population mechanics or population genetics. Yeah, that's it. If you try to explain the origin of life with evolution, you're going to lose, because it doesn't explain the origin of life. Evolution doesn't explain the origin of the universe or anything. It only talks about biodiversity through population genetics.
It's one of the explanations as to how we got here, that we evolved.
Yeah, because life was already here.
That's a point that I was trying to make regarding creationism versus evolution. Maybe the origins of existence was a little bit of a clumsy terminology for me, but what I'm trying to get at is the origins as how we got here. Let me put it that way.
And here's another reason why, not teaching creationism in school is not a free speech issue. The First Amendment of the Constitution prohibits the establishment of religion over another, nor the prohibition of.
And
I mean, you can read it for yourself.
I
So
know,
as long
I know this,
as the
dude.
schools remain completely secular, there's no violation.
And here's the thing: it wouldn't be an establishment of any one religion if you was to allow them all to be taught, say in a theology class or something or other.
So
It would be.
here's the
It would,
problem.
that would be the government like viewing all religions as the same and not just establishing one above all others.
So are you seriously suggesting that along with science class, we have creationism class, we have Hindu class, we have Islam class, we have, whatever the Africans believe, whatever the hell the South Americans believe, whatever the hell the Eskimos believe, whatever the hell the Native Americans believe. But God fucking damn it, science is objective. Well, what you're advocating for is neutrality bias.
What I'm thinking, neutrality bias. That made up term by Kyle Kalinske.
I mean, it is true. I mean, you're literally advocating false, mythology be taught as if it's anywhere as reputable as objective science.
I'm not advocating that it definitely is taught. I mean, here's what my position actually is allow the individual school boards to determine what is to be in their curriculum by area basis, like not a one size fits all curriculum put out by some bureaucracy on the federal level, but more city by city, county by county, and so on and so forth. But what I'm trying to say is that it would only be consistent with free speech absolutism if you allowed the speech and for people to speak for any such belief at all.
Well, it's not a contradiction.
Allowing that.
It's not it's not a contradiction at all. It's not a contradiction to not allow lies be taught to be taught by our children by the government.
Well, that's what the debate is meant to be: is to try and defer what is true and what is not.
Yeah, we've already solved that debate. I mean, during the 1920s with the Scopes monkey trial, or the 1985 trial where they determined intelligent design was just creationism under a new name.
Well, even with falling under the definition of free speech absolutism, I would think that being allowed to tell lies even would fall under that, or what a person might think to be a lie.
This is education we're talking about. This is not a free exchange of ideas between equally educated partners. We're talking about educating our children. If you force propaganda down their throats, they're going to come out believing that vaccines are harmful, will give your kids autism.
Forcing it down their throat, I wouldn't. I don't know.
I mean,
the misphrasing of it. I mean, you could always like homeschool your own kid or take him to a private school who has a different curriculum from what is being taught in the public school.
Okay, so the public school should teach what is objectively true, what is scientifically verifiable, and not creationist propaganda, not creationist lies. If you're teaching your kid creationism, you're teaching your kids lies. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Okay, so then there's no free speech absolutism.
I am for free speech as absolutism. That's just not. The government doesn't have the right to say whatever the hell it wants to say.
It's not necessarily the government, but more the teachers.
Yeah, the government.
Right.
They are public employees. They are a part of the government.
Okay.
Yeah, listen to this common sense guy. It would be the state that has to separate religion from the education system. The church can teach them creationism. I don't give a shit of what some church teaches their followers. I don't give a shit. So long as they're not abusing their privileges as a nonprofit, by going on a political campaign. I don't care.
I'd also agree with Red Feather. There's a difference in educating and forcing it down their throat. There's a lot that has been going on with Red Feather and Common Sense Guy. We're getting off on kind of a side tangent. I mean, I don't agree. Like, if you're not allowing people within a school or whatever else have you to speak what they want, then it's doesn't seem like free speech absolutism.
I mean, well, why are you so obsessed with this term that free speech absolutism means you have to allow every speech in every context? No,
Maybe the term free speech absolutism is too vague or too all-encompassing.
I mean, it seems you're using it in a weird way. It seems that you're using it in a weird way.
Anyway, we got way off subject right there. Like way off subject. Got mentioning Kyle Kulinski, and then you was all like, yeah, you go ahead and share me your video of Kyle Kulinski, and I'll share you my video of Ben Shapiro, because that's how much water that I hold to Kyle Kulinski.
I mean,
I don't consider him absolutely uncredible, and I don't know of how much credibility you would hold to Ben Shapiro.
Absolutely none.
Not even more than Fox News or Sean Hannity.
Ben Shapiro is basically Fox News. Ben Shapiro advocated for the Iraq War.
Opinions change. I'd have to see a.
I don't give a shit if your opinions change. The fact is, you were part of the warmongering group. You weren't objective at all. You were sucking the dick of the Republican administration.
Yeah, no. I don't think that rules on how I view him currently, because there was actually a time that I was against the idea of legalizing homosexuality, but then my beliefs changed on that.
Legalizing homosexuality?
Well, I was against decriminalizing it. Against the SCOTUS ruling that said that states cannot criminalize it. So, anyway, never mind. I'm not going to read that chat, because then we're going to get on that other side tangent. But yeah, I mean, whatever past position Ben Shapiro had doesn't hardly affect what his current stances are. Now I view the guy right now.
Yeah, I don't care. The guy still advocated for an illegal war. That shows a serious failure in his thought process.
Advocated for an illegal war. You sure that he did not want it carried out in a legal way? And also, you're taking into consider by illegal. It seems like a person would be taken into you know what? I'm getting way off subject here.
Okay. I mean, I can pull up any article that Ben Shapiro, TJ Kirk's been doing a great job covering Ben Shapiro and just tearing him to shreds. Just absolutely.
And that's what people think of Progressive Voice as well. But then Progressive Voice is a weak little, his arguments are just weak and too watered down.
Ben Shapiro's arguments are they're standard right-wing talking points. The only difference is he's young. He's basically Rush Limbaugh on the body of a small Jewish man.
That's a really unfair comparison right there. Ben Shapiro is not as near as much as the dick sucker of Trump as Rush Limbaugh is. And plus, I haven't heard Ben Shapiro or Rush Limbaugh speak at all about the legalization of marijuana. I did at least hear Ben Shapiro advocate for the legalization or decriminalization, at least, of marijuana. I mean, he might have some gripes with of how people want it decriminalized, but still. As far as I know, right now, I don't know anything of Rush Limbaugh advocating for the decriminalization of marijuana. So, yeah, unfair comparison. I mean, Ben Shapiro, critical of Trump. Rush Limbaugh, not at all.
Okay, he's still an insane far right winger. He still pulls out the same
right.
far right talking points.
He's not an ANCAP or of white supremacists or of anything of that
Yeah,
sort.
he's a Christian fundamentalist or a Jewish, whatever the fuck he is. He's a religious fundamentalist.
Hmm.
You know, there was this a video I saw of his where he was answering a question from a viewer. You know how like, oh, I got my girl pregnant and I don't know what to do. I'm not ready to be a father. Guy says, oh well, you need to buck up and take responsibility. You're a father now, whether or not you're ready.
Advocating for any policy right there?
Huh?
Was he advocating for any policy right there?
No, he was giving advice to this. He's giving terrible advice to to someone who's possibly not even ready for fatherhood.
I don't see how that's far right then. I mean, it seems that he's given more of a personal like philosophical advice than a advocating for any policy that would force a person to do XYZ.
It's his religious fundamentalism that's coming out. It's his, anti-abortion stance that's coming out. It's his, hashtag personal responsibility coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be like confusing like a personal philosophical position from a legal position. And I guess what I think to be considered far right is if a person was to have a legal position that literally forces a person to take some action or bars them from take an action like smoke weed, for example.
I mean, oh god, let's look up some Ben Shapiro articles.
Oh boy, this has turned into a discussion about Ben Shapiro more than political spectrums. Yeah. We might have to talk about liberalism and democracy at some later point.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it now. It's less frustrating.
But actually, now that I think about it, it does kind of tie into the whole political spectrum discussion. Talking about what we define as far right or whatever. I mean, I would think that there are like 7 parts. I mean, if we're looking at the political spectrum purely linear, like forget about the political compass. Like the political compass might be a little bit more of a legit way, but just looking at it purely linear, like there's like far right, moderate right, center right, dead center, center left, moderate left, and far left. I would kind of put you on the moderate left, honestly. And a person like Mjolnir Man, I would think is like center left. I would put myself in more of the moderate right category. S-Man Speaks in the center right category. And I would also put Ben Shapiro in the moderate right category as well. And of course,
I put him in the far right.
I would disagree with that unless he was advocating for a policy forcing, say, atheists to literally pray. I mean, it is a little bit of a difference.
I mean, he rants about taking prayer out of school.
Okay, is he advocating for allowing people to pray in school, or is he advocating to force people to pray in school?
Say that again?
Is he advocating for people to be allowed to pray in school, or is he advocating for people to be forced to pray in school?
Well, there's nothing that prevents anyone from praying in school.
Okay, well then, at most there, I would think that Ben Shapiro is going on a non-issue and being petty if it's already allowed.
Hey,
But
at least he can admit he's petty.
Well, I think that he's petty and criticizing TV shows for the morals, like in that one PragerU video. But that's not a deal breaker for me. It's not a deal breaker for me, dude. I mean, I don't have as much of this arrogant objectivist attitude as some people have. But I mean, as long as, again, though, as long as he's not advocating to force people to pray in school, then that's not a far right, or that is a far right position right there, is to be forcing people to be praying in school. But if he's just advocating for people to be allowed to be praying in school, then that would be a moderate right position.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't care if someone by their own volition or whatever the hell that the term is, you know, I wouldn't care if someone prayed in school, so long as they, you know, don't interrupt class to do it.
Common sense guy has a question. Why is Ben far right? Is it because he's religious? If that's true, does that mean Muslims are far right?
Yes.
You would say yes on both of those questions?
Yes, Muslims, especially the uber fundamentalists, they're all far right. Saudi Arabia is the perfect example of a far right theocracy, or a far right authoritarian state.
I would not know the individual policies that they have implemented, economic or otherwise, but yeah.
I mean, that they advocate for warmongering. They advocate for blowing up little kiddies in school buses. They advocate
this is why
the oppression of women.
This is why that I'm just going to give you the benefit of the doubt on that position, because okay, actually, so far I will say that the nation is. I mean, going by off of the dichotomy that we're using, they would be right wing.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
Well, one of the aspects of being right wing is conservatism, and conservatism is all about, you know, tradition and, you know, protecting the past.
I would argue that the term conservative is relative. Like it depends on what time you're living in and what country you're living in, because conservative is preserving the status quo. So say if you and I were to move to Norway or Sweden or whatever, that would make you the conservative of that country, and I would not be conservative.
Yeah.
So a conservative is not explicitly right wing. It may be right wing, say in America, for example, but it wouldn't be right wing in Norway or Sweden.
Yeah. But
does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, it sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So anyway, rewinding this way back to Obama, and then we're probably going to wrap it up after that, because we got no time for liberalism and democracy. But anyway,
I honestly don't care all that much about Obama, to be honest.
Okay, but I would still argue that he's not right wing. If anything, at least center left. I mean, you and I can both agree that he is right wing on foreign policy, but left wing on social issues, right?
I mean, there's some social issues Obama is right wing on. I mean, he was the deporter in chief. You know, he deported more
turnarounds more than anything. Like they were caught in the act of trying to. They were caught in the act of trying to invade into the country, and then they were just turned around. Like it wasn't like they lived.
I mean, it was still more than a Bush. It was still more than Bush.
But my point is that they weren't technically deportations, and he did not do a very good job of strengthening the border. A person could argue that maybe his gay rights position is only just as legitimate as Hillary Clinton, because didn't both Hillary Clinton and Obama both kind of flop on the issue of gay rights at the same time when the SCOTUS ruling was being pushed?
Yeah, pretty much. The which is why I don't consider them left, because their positions are just as ready to flip flop, as the political winds are. Way back
Abortion
when.
and guns are pretty left on.
I mean, that's one of the few consistent positions of Hillary Clinton
Two.
is guns.
Not just one, two.
Two.
Yeah, because of, as far as I know, Hillary Clinton hasn't been pro-life ever since her fucking, what was his name, Goldwater days. Since her Goldwater days, Goldwater supporting days.
I mean, Hillary Clinton used to support an actual single payer system. Now she supports the individual mandate.
Yeah, and okay. Conservatism is not far right. It's a moderate right ideal, says Common Sense Guy. Well, like I said, that's relative. That's more subjective to the time and place that you're, that you're living. Okay. What was I going to say? Damn it. Okay. Talking about purely about economics. What would you consider far right? Like the furthest right that could possibly be. Would you consider anarcho-capitalism?
On economics, yeah. And
Okay.
the furthest left would be the flip opposite, like full-on socialism or communism.
Okay, so we can agree on that at least. So would you say that the individual mandate, if anything, at least is more center-right than it is far-right?
I never said it was far-right.
No, I'm asking you. Would you at least
I said it's right-wing. That's it.
You don't care if whether it's considered center-right or moderate-right, just...
I really don't care.
Okay.
It's an improvement over the system we had previous, but it's still not a...
Wait, what would the individual mandate?
It is an improvement, but it's still bad.
Not when it comes to a person's own personal liberties, no. Forcing a person to get healthcare when they don't want to. I mean, I don't know about you and your coverage history, but I did not have coverage myself for the longest time. For at least the first 2 years that Obamacare had been implemented, and I got fined through my tax returns because of it.
That's why it's not good.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying that it's not an improvement from what we had before.
It did get more people covered under health insurance. It did.
Some of them against their own will. How's that an improvement?
More people are covered.
What if the person doesn't want to be covered?
Tough.
God. You're definitely sounding like an authoritarian right there.
Yeah,
when you say
this is not the system I advocate for. Okay. Well, when I defend it on the basis that it did accomplish the goals that it sought out to accomplish.
But you're against the individual mandate, right?
Yes.
So you're for a person determining for themselves that if they don't want to be covered, then they are not covered if they don't want to be.
Sure, whatever.
Well, then it's not an improvement. It's not an improvement that they add the individual mandate then.
That, once again, with the goals that the individual mandate had, it was an improvement. More people were covered.
Okay, based on the goals of the policy itself, but not based on your goals and your philosophy, though.
I mean, you're talking about your goals.
But you just said that you for yourself, you're not for forcing people to have health care if they don't want to. You're not for the individual mandate.
I said I'm not for the individual mandate. I don't care if someone doesn't want to be covered.
Okay.
With the system that I advocate for, they're going to be covered, anyway.
Okay,
if they get sick, they go to the doctor and they suffer the consequence of not having to pay the bills.
By the way, William Purcell, no, CultofHam does not make videos, at least yet anyways. He's only made 4 in the entire time of his channel. But...
And I'm pretty sure I privatized those.
No.
What? Oh, shit. Let me privatize those real quick. We're under a time crunch now.
But I find this... oh, man. This is mind-boggling. Like, I don't care for what the intention was of Obama and the rest of the establishment DC to try and push forth the individual mandate, and that they were accomplishing their own goals. So therefore, in their own view, it was better than what it was before. What I'm caring for is the belief of you and me. As far as I know, both of us agree the individual mandate is shit. We don't want it. We don't want people to be forced to have health care, insurance, if they don't want to. So therefore, get rid of the individual mandate. So therefore, the individual mandate is not an improvement in that area than before it was implemented.
But it is an improvement overall. I mean, you're focusing on this one issue over, some libertarian freedom of, yeah, I don't like that system, which is why I don't advocate for it. But you still have to acknowledge that it was a better system than that system we had before, when we had less people covered, when you were more likely to be, go bankrupt due to medical bills.
Said that if a person doesn't want to be covered, then by your ideal, they shouldn't be covered if they don't want to be.
I don't care.
Oh, God. Man. We're dancing around this too much.
Oh, yeah. William Purcell here in the chat says, Ham, is it odd that I, a Republican, am for Medicare for all? No, actually, William, you're actually in the majority. Yes, a majority of Republicans are all for Medicare for all system, or at least I don't know what the phrasing of the question was, but I assume it's a Medicare for all. I mean that
I think that was,
phrasing it that way tends to poll the best.
Okay. Common Sense Guy says this is hard work, Dark Con, LOL. Yeah, this is hard work. Trying to nail down Ham to admit that on a liberty aspect, the individual mandate was not an improvement from what before having the individual mandate.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as an overall, what effect did it have? It had an overall better, overall good effect. But we can still do better than that. We can still do better than what the individual mandate was.
So ignoring people's own personal choice, I mean, statistically, you think it's best if more people have health insurance than less.
Yeah, because we have less people who will go bankrupt. We'll have less people.
Okay.
Who'll, they'll get sick with cancer or something, and they can never return to the being a productive member of society.
Dark Khan's webcam sucks. Ham's is better. Let me see if I
can. Yeah, you bet your ass mine better be better.
Adjust bandwidth usage. Okay, I'm on the highest setting that I have right now, so I don't know how to make that better at this moment, unless I bought an entirely new webcam. But anyway. And I'm trying to argue that it is not really an improvement because it, I mean, at least for people like me and others who do not care enough to want to be covered, but instead get fined out the nose through their tax returns if they do not have coverage. And I say, I mean, I put personal liberty over statistical output, and how I advocate for something. But that's me personally.
Well, I mean, I personally prefer a single payer system where the government replaces the role of the insurance companies.
Common sense guy says you do realize that will just raise prices for the hospital, giving all the power to the insurance companies at DarkCon. Yeah, I mean, I think, Ham just put out what system he advocates for, and I think that in my DarkCon, stop being an emo edgelord and turn on the light. No, motherfucker. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Okay, the system that I would preferably advocate for is Humane Mind has a point, and you agree with it as well, that insurance companies are essentially a scam. I think ultimately, like private health savings plans above everything else. Like instead of having the medical bill paying be reliant on insurance companies, instead help people to like have their own health savings plans.
Well,
so they can
here's
have
the
their own
problem.
money.
Here's the problem with going with just that approach.
I've also realized I'm talking more by principle here.
Well, pharmaceuticals and hospitals, they arbitrarily raise their prices to exorbitant fucking degrees. And this is an area where competition really doesn't help you, because unlike a car, you can't get your heart replaced just anywhere. If you get into a car accident, you can't request that. No, I want to go to the hospital over there, not this closer one. No. So competition doesn't help you in the health insurance market. And that's why you need something like an insurance company or the government to negotiate down their ridiculous price gouging. That they'll charge you $500 for a tissue and call it a cough aid suppressant. There's a story about this guy. No, Brandon. There is this guy who had heart surgery, and he was insured. Yet he still got a bill for like $90,000 from the hospital, because it was an out of market hospital, and a hospital was still too fucking greedy to take the $50,000 that the insurance company already paid.
All right. So obviously, I will say that Obama is not left wing on healthcare. Definitely not. Like, would you agree with me that the furthest left that it gets on healthcare is having like a UK NHS style of healthcare system where the government owns and pays for everything, healthcare wise?
Yeah, that's pretty much the furthest left you can go.
Okay.
I don't even advocate for going that far. Just so long as the government replaces the role of the private insurance companies, and the government, can negotiate down the prices of all the pharmaceuticals. The government can negotiate down for all the prices of, doctor's visits and surgeries.
Okay. And so, getting on with it, and I would think that the right-wing solution, okay, I don't know. Maybe I will kind of give the benefit of the doubt that corporatism / plutocracy is a variant of between center left, center, and center right. I mean, depending on what the nuances of your positions are. But it's definitely not the ideal right-wing position. I agree with Humane Mind that Obamacare is not the ideal right-wing position, because it's not like unregulated free market healthcare. Like, it's definitely not moderate or far right.
Yeah, an unregulated market is never going to exist. I hope so. Because
maybe not because of the popular opinion, but Yeah.
I mean, we know what happens when you have an unregulated market. You get shit like, you know, elixir sulfamanilate, or I can never pronounce that last word. But basically, you get someone who mixes you know, antifreeze along with, you know, the actual antibiotics as a solvent, and you end up having 100 people die.
Okay, I gotta address Common Sense Guy. He says the government doesn't pay for it; the people do at DarkCon, referring to the NHS system. Are you talking about through taxes, or are you talking about directly out of their wallet through private exchange? Or
Oh,
something?
you know he's talking about taxes. Yes, the government gets its funding from taxes. No shit.
Oh yeah, that's a technicality that a person wants to bring up, is that it's no such thing as free healthcare, because it's still ultimately coming out of a person's wallet, just you know, through their taxes instead.
Yeah,
It's
it's, you know,
indirect.
it's
More indirect.
it's the typical talking point I always hear, you know, someone on the right use, as if the left hasn't either refuted these points, you know, a long ass time ago, or that's not even the point that they're making.
I mean, it's not really the determining issue when it comes to welfare, is that it's not really free because it comes out of your taxes.
But that's always the first point that they make whenever they engage in these arguments.
Okay. I'm not right. I'm a centrist, says Common Sense Guy. Okay. Um. Back to Obama. So he advocates for plutocracy through bank bailouts and subsidies and other business subsidies. And Obamacare, I would still not say is like right wing, at least not full right wing. But there's a whole lot of other stances that he takes that is pretty left wing, and I would think that you would agree with as well. Like, for example, taking the work requirement out of food stamps, applying for food stamps. Cap and trade, like higher regulations and other taxes on the coal industry, like whether or not it's actually right for somebody to be taxing and regulating the coal industry more and more. You would still agree with me that that is typically a left-wing position, right?
Well,
Industry regulations and
I
taxes.
guess.
Okay, so that's another area. Plus,
I mean,
this offshore oil drill ban, and yeah. Advocating for an increase in the minimum wage. Actually, he did get an increase in the minimum wage. It went from like what, 6.50 to 7.25, or it was like somewhere in the $6 and some cents range before he got it to 7.25, and wanted to push for even higher, like $15. I mean, not right wing positions; they're more left wing. So when I hear a person say that Obama was a right winger, that's the main reason as to why I say it's hard for me to believe them on that, because there's this myriad of other left-wing positions he took on economics, and also the right to deny service, like the issue that S-Man keeps on rubbing in your face about, typically a right-wing position. As far as I know, Obama did not advocate for individual businesses to have the right to deny service based on any reason that they want, like race, religion, sexuality, whatever else have you. In fact, he was well against it, as far as I know. Something you wanted to say?
Nothing. I honestly want to move off of Obama because I really don't care about Obama, and I'm not here to defend Obama's positions.
Okay, would you still say that he's a right winger, even though I mentioned all of his policy positions he had there?
He's center right or a centrist. I mean, he's basically he's the furthest left a mainstream politician can go.
Okay. What? I'm trying to like read the chat. I mean, I think we're going to like pretty soon end this stream, CultofHam. We've went on a good long while. I mean,
oh my god, I want to talk about liberalism and democracy. Damn it!
Oh, you do? Okay. Red Feather. So is Ham a socialist? No, the most you could call him is a very, very watered down version of a socialist. That being like a social democrat. But other than that, he's not
yeah.
Owen McDonald.
Yeah, that's not a watered down socialist. I'm still a capitalist. I just believe in a mixed market economy.
That would be like a mix of socialism and capitalism, wouldn't it?
Sure, if you want to describe it as that.
Social democracy, right? But
yeah.
Anyway, talking about liberalism, because, okay, if you really insist that you want to talk about that. So, I heard you once say in one of the private group chats, I'm not even going to try to get caught up on the public chat here, guys, because it's way too fucking active. Sorry, guys, but no.
Put slow mode on for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I have to like get to over 1,000 subscribers, allow super chats, and people can like say what they have to say via super chats, and then I'll start reading those. But anyway, in one of the private Twitter group chats, you mentioned something that was quite odd to me. Odd, but not necessarily bad. But you said you would consider some of us, even right-wingers, to be liberals.
Well, yeah, because liberalism is not a left or right philosophy. It's actually about the most centrist you can get. Let me get the definition of liberalism up.
It's an encompassing, it's an all-encompassing centrist position.
Yeah, it's a political and moral philosophy based on liberty and equality. Liberals espouse a wide array of views depending on their understanding of these principles, but they generally support civil rights, democracy, secularism, gender and race equality, internationalism, and the freedoms of speech, the press, religion, and markets.
All right. And you would argue that socialists like Owen, ANCAPs like Humane, and ethno-statists like Richard Spencer, all of them are not liberals?
Absolutely not. Richard Spencer the most, not. Richard Spencer even came out and said, I am against the freedom of speech. We're just using it to push our goals.
There's actually this one line that me and Humane caught him on. Like, we did like a live review of that debate. He said, okay, so Kevin Logan challenged him saying, so you are against freedom of speech. What if somebody was to go against your freedom of speech? And then Richard Spencer said something along the lines of, I don't see how they would be in the right because I'm white, or I'm right. Could not hardly make it out. But basically, he was showing his true colors. Yes, pun intended. And white is a color. He was just showing off how much of a hypocrite he is. Massive hypocrite.
Yeah. And, some of you guys in the chat are liberal. People like Obama, Clinton, Trump, they're not liberals. They don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in, secularism or race and gender. Well,
okay.
Pseudo gender and race equality. They say they do, but what they really mean is, minority and female supremacy. Basically, the flip side of a white nationalist.
The BTK is in the chat saying Richard Spencer is a leftist. His ideology doesn't work without authoritarian government enforcement.
Fuck BTK.
I still would like to moderate a debate between the two of you. Just saying.
God. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
Come on, grow some balls. You wanted Voltaire to grow some balls to debate against you.
That's because Voltaire was fun. BTK is just annoying. Oh yeah, now I remember why I'm pissed at BTK. She's a fucking racist.
Yeah, I don't think so. She's no less of a racist than what Sargon of Akkad is by talking about black crime statistics. He even made a video titled "Why is it that black men commit more
Well,
crime?"
here's the thing about Sargon. When he talks about black crime statistics, he further explains it by talking about, the collapse of the black family, our drug laws, etc., etc. When someone like BTK talks about black crime statistics, they stopped there. They almost imply that the reason why blacks have increased crime is because they're black. It's because they're of the inferior race. And that's why I consider BTK a fucking racist and Sargon not.
I did not hear BTK at all in the chat mention about how inferior, genetically inferior black people are. And I did not hear her say that she disagrees with the idea that of a fixing of the black family would be a good solution for this. Like, this is, no, there is no inferior race. Thank you, BTK, as she says in the chat. Yeah. I mean, I'm still finding a hard time to call BTK a racist. I mean, she was even with me and Humane on the live stream, like going against Richard Spencer as we were reviewing that debate he was having against Sargon. Along with Loudmouth and Sinister D Boy, that being Humane Minds' brother. You're like, ugh, there's multiple Humanes. Ugh.
Black families were better off before the civil rights movement. I don't consider being hung from a tree better than not being hung from a tree.
Well, right, there is that area, but I think Red Feather is talking about statistically how the family was more well kept together and how economically they were better off.
If we get the black families back together, we would see a massive improvement in the black community. And one of the things we can do is to get rid of these fucking drug laws. These drug laws are used. These drug laws are used more on minorities than it is on whites, despite whites being more likely to have drugs on them.
We would have to look at it on a stat by stat basis in what ways black people might have been better off or worse off before and after a civil rights era, I would say. But you would agree. Okay. Never mind. I'm not going to. Actually, no, I'm going to read this. BTK says more blacks went from poverty to middle class under Jim Crow. Also, blacks have killed more blacks in the last 5 years, and all blacks killed by racists in the last 83 years.
Yeah. That just proves BTK is a fucking racist, because what she's implying is, Jim Crow laws were good.
No.
Now, if she wants to actually explain herself and explain why she's not a racist, then she go right on ahead. But until she does, she's a fucking racist.
Yeah, you want to have that live stream with her then sometime?
Sure, why not?
All right, so it's official. BTK, I'll have to get to you on scheduling that, and Ham. I almost call you Humane. And CultofHam. I would have to talk to you later about that. But yeah, this is the most active.
And by the way, I don't throw around the term racist at all.
Yeah, and I don't throw. I'm pretty reservist on saying when somebody's a racist or a sexist or some other bigot for that matter. But I still call Richard Spencer a racist and Voltaire a sexist. Okay.
Blacks fought for the drug war. No, they didn't. It was Harry J. Anslinger, the vicious fucking racist. That said, marijuana has a degenerative effect. No, it has a negative effect on the degenerate racists, and niggers will get popped up on cocaine and rape our white women.
Although there was like a article, I cannot remember what it was. I almost want to say the Federalist, but I'm not so sure. I was talking about there was like 11 black representatives in the House of Representatives, like in the 80s, that voted to crack down more on hard crack cocaine, whereas powder cocaine was just left with less harsh of a penalty if you were caught with it. There was 11 black people that voted for cracking down on hard crack, and 10 people that voted against it. So it's kind of almost half and half, but that would be an example of how that black people fought more for the drug war. I mean, obviously, we both disagree with it, and I would agree that yes, easing up and even completely obliterating the drug war would be a contributing factor to help get back together the black family. Like if a black dude just wanted to be a pot dealer as a career, well then yeah, he doesn't get arrested for it. And he can feed his wife and kids, and so on and so forth.
I mean, there's numerous things that you can do that'll help the black community that wouldn't be necessarily targeted at helping the black community. It'll help society just overall. You know, helping the black community will be just a consequence.
So you against affirmative action?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's a right-wing position from you. Just saying.
It's not a right-wing position. It's maybe a centrist position.
I would say.
I mean, affirmative action is racist in and of itself.
Affirmative action is like a government regulation in a business, running a business. I mean, this is kind of going back to political spectrums. The way that I consider left versus right is the more and more for free markets and for economic liberty you are, the more right-wing you are. But the more for government intervention and control into the economy, the more left-wing you are. Be it through the mob rule or government intervention, like there are, supposed anarcho-communists, and then there's also state communists and socialists. So, yeah. It's more right-wing than centrist. Ham says, common sense guy. I do not know if he's quoting you on that or if he's saying that to you, but I would, if you are stating that, common sense guy, I would disagree with that for reasons that I just said why. BTK shared, looks like she shared an article in the chat. Anyway,
yeah, she what this are? You can find black people who supported the drug war. Okay, fine. You'll find way more white people who fought for the drug war.
Well, okay, obviously, because whites make up a larger section of the population than black people.
Yeah. And whites made up the majority of government back then.
All right, we're kind of all over the place, but whenever we go talking, there's something that I want to mention that I think of in my head that I want to mention. Like you would say that right-wing liberals is a thing.
Yeah.
Such thing as right-wing liberals. Okay. So take that, Progressive Voice, because Progressive Voice, the thing about him is that he keeps on freaking out about how Dave Rubin calls himself a liberal, even though a person could say that he's become a center right-winger or even a moderate right-winger.
I mean,
he calls himself a liberal.
He gives milquetoast interviews to right-wingers, then he presses the left-wingers hard, and he's also funded by the Koch brothers.
Yeah, I don't give much of a shit for Dave Rubin, but I just find it entertaining as to how much Progressive Voice almost obsesses over the guy, to the point of wanting to play a skit of Dave Rubin having some comedy sketch or something. I mean, is this really worth going on? Do you have a point with this? I mean, it wasn't even that funny. I mean, the cringe or whatever else have you, he's obsessed with Dave Rubin, just has a massive hate boner for him.
Oh, like how I have a massive hate boner for Ben Shapiro.
Sure. One question that I'll ask, like, who's a right wing figure that you hate the absolute most? Like, think deep.
Ben Shapiro. I don't have to think deep.
More than Steven Crowder.
I honestly don't give a shit about Steven Crowder.
For some reason, I thought I got the implication that you hated Steven Crowder more than even Ben Shapiro.
I don't like Steven Crowder, but I have not been made aware of his existence enough for me to warrant, hating him. If you want to talk about, people on the right that actually do like people like Ron Paul and Rand Paul when he sticks to his libertarian roots.
Okay.
I mean, if you had Hillary.
Okay, one second. Red Feather says in the chat, Ben Shapiro is not alt-right and neither is Crowder. Nobody said that. Red Feather, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro can't be alt-right because he's Jewish. But yeah, if I had a choice between voting for someone like Rand Paul, so as long as he stays true to his libertarian roots, and Hillary Clinton, I'm sorry, but I'm going Rand Paul.
Yeah, at least you're more solid on that than Kyle Kalinske was. I saw him try to answer that question, and he was all like, "I still haven't made up my mind."
I mean, I disagree massively with both. But Hillary is evil.
Hillary is an unprincipled centrist, I would say. Like it's hard for me to call her right wing as well. I mean,
I love that fucking interview where she did on that black radio show, where she like, you see this here? I got a bottle of hot sauce I carry around with me whenever I eat food, and like, the other host had this. I can't remember if they had video or if it was just audio, but I could just hear in their voices is just how exasperated of how much he was just talking down to them, like, "Hey, you precious little niggers! I also like fried chicken and watermelon."
Oh, fuck. I did not need that to be put in my head. That voice to be put into my head.
Well, would you like this voice?
No. No thanks. I gotta say that your voice is far more well, okay. I don't want to say emotional to imply that it's sad, but your voice seems to emote more than your face does. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. So anyway. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop the interview right here. I want to like end off my weekend with playing some Overwatch and watching some Lost in Space. So, CultofHam, is there anything that you want to say to the chat and to the audience and whatnot?
I just want to call out Darky Khan for his overt racism for platforming the vicious and vile racist CultofHam. He's a monster, and he should feel bad at night, and he should suffer from eternal erectile dysfunction.
What the fuck? Hey, I'm called the evil by Elmwood just for being pro-life. Like, he's obsessed with me on that issue. S-Man, how dare you associate with this misogynist who's totally against bodily autonomy, even though, yeah, anyway, that's a different discussion.
And by the way, if you compare to me in a Monday, Matt, I will fucking strangle you with with a telephone wire.
So anyway, I would like to say thank CultofHam for joining me to have this discussion. We kind of got caught up on some things. I mean, honestly, the main reason why I don't respond to hardly anything that you say on Twitter is because I find it more healthy and more efficient to be responding to somebody live via voice than through text, because it's just tedious and rather soul draining to do it via text. But anyway.
Oh yeah, fuck BTK, who is also racist.
Yeah, how dare Darky Khan be addressing BTK? How dare he be defending BTK? But anyway, thank you,
How dare you not block her from the channel? I'll force feed you haggis.
Anyway, thank you, CultofHam, for joining. And this has been the Dark Conservatarian. We have talked about guns, political spectrums, Ben Shapiro a lot, liberalism, free speech absolutism. Anyway, I'm the Dark Conservatarian. Thank you for joining Strike Force Interviews. See y'all later, and God bless you all.
I'm beautiful.